What's up, Attack MMA? I'm your host, Zach Weicker, and today we got a very special guest. He's a professional fighter with an 11-4 record and will be fighting at UFC 304 on July 27th. Please welcome Preston Parsons. Preston, how are we doing today?
Doing good. It's actually my birthday today.
Happy birthday, man. What did you do to
Thank
celebrate the
you.
birthday?
I just turned 29. I really didn't do anything to celebrate it. I trained the fight camp coming up and stuff, so I had to stay late at the gym, and that's why I had to kind of push our meeting back just a little bit.
Of course, man. The real celebration will be after the big fight. But before we get into that big fight, I want to talk about your last fight, which was against Matthew Semelsberger, which was a very impressive performance on your half against a very tough opponent. So looking back at that, how do you assess your performance?
I think I did very good. I think I was patient, a lot more patient than I have been in the past. I let him make mistakes, let him come to me. I kind of used all the space in the octagon that I could, opposed to just rushing to the guy like I always do. So I'm very proud of that performance, and I look to perform in a similar way for this next fight.
Of course, and you always go out there and put on great performances. But your previous fight was a loss against Trevin Giles. So after losing that fight, how good did it feel to get back into the win column?
It felt amazing, and I'm still happy about that fight. I'm still living it up from that one.
As you should be, man. We get another win against your next fight against Oban Elliot. So what are your thoughts on your opponent and his fighting style and his strengths?
Um, he's definitely a very good opponent. He's very well rounded. One thing I do notice is that he's not a finisher. He doesn't have very many finishes on his record. I think his last three or four fights have been decisions, so I've definitely seen that. But he seems like he's pretty well rounded. Normally, I'm the grappler going against the striker, so I'm this guy might be shooting for my legs a little bit. So the tables are turned a little.
Yeah, and something about Oban is he's a pretty vocal fighter and someone who's not afraid to go speak on the mic. So what are your thoughts on him outside of the fighting aspects?
I haven't really paid too much attention to his stuff outside of fighting. Um, Being completely honest, the only reason I knew who he was before I got scheduled to fight him is because I know who Val Woodburn is, and I've trained with him in the past, and I've fought alongside him on Combat Nights cards. But I haven't seen too much of him talking. That doesn't really concern me. I'm more so concerned with the actions, what he does inside of his fights. But I've watched most of the fights that I could on him. Definitely watched all of his UFC fights, or the only one UFC fight he
Yeah.
has. So I studied that one quite a bit, and I know he fought in the Contender Series, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yes.
so that's where I'm pulling most of my footage from. But the main thing I picked up is that he's a grappler. He switches stances quite often. He's more well rounded than the guys I've fought in the past. Most of the guys I've fought in the past are more so one dimensional. They want to strike the whole fight, so I can set up my takedowns a little easier. This time I have to be a little more cautious of this guy dropping levels and taking me down.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned there you like watching tape, and I know that's some fighters love to watch tape, they love to dive into it, and some fighters hate watching tape and they kind of try to avoid that stuff. So for you, what do you like about watching film study on your opponents?
Personally, I'm one of the guys that doesn't like to watch film that much. Just because, again, when you get on YouTube, all you find is highlights. You find this guy knocking guys out left and right. So when you're alone to your thoughts and you're sitting there watching tape, and all you see is this guy knocking people out, the next big thing, all this, um, I'm not. It's not great for the confidence. So studying him and watching his fights, it doesn't really diminish my confidence at all. And yeah, I'm feeling good for this one. I've trained hard for it. I have a good team, a good support system. We did a proper training camp, so we're prepared for this guy.
That's great, man. And you mentioned where he has all his advantages and what he's good at, but of course, to yourself, where do you think you stand out in this fight?
I think that I could, because again, I think he's pretty well rounded, and I consider myself to be pretty well rounded. I think that I have him beaten in the striking aspect. I think that it'll be another um, performance similar to the Semelsberger performance, where I'd look good in striking. I looked like I was out wrestling him, out doing him on the ground. I think that I'll be a step ahead in every position we end up in.
That's great to hear. And this will be a first for you, as this will be your first time on a pay-per-view. So how cool is it to be on a number card?
It's awesome. It's super cool. I've never been on a pay per view like you said. I've been doing the fight nights, and I've actually only fought in front of a crowd once for the UFC, and that was against Trevin Giles. And it's weird to say, but I get the most nervous for my wins. My last fight, I was super nervous the day of the fight, and then I went out there and performed better than I ever have. When I fought Giles, there was no nerves whatsoever, which is strange because I'm fighting in front of a crowd. So this fight, I had a little bit of nerves, but just the right amount, the amount to make me a little sharper, a little quicker, faster, stronger, but not enough nerves to cripple me.
Yeah,
So I'm feeling good for this one. Feeling
that's a
alive.
that's a great way to look at it. And you mentioned the crowds, and again, another first. This will be your first time fighting outside the country. So how excited are you to fight in the UK?
Super excited. I'm excited just to go over there and see the culture. I've only been out of the country one other time, and it was for I did this tour with MMA Titans, and it was training Marines, Navy, Army, all types of guys, and we went to Honduras, Cuba, and Greenland, and that was awesome. But again, I had never been out of the country before that, and then that was a huge culture shock, and I kind of realized my friends were right when they said that if you ever get the chance to travel out of the state or out of the states to do it, and I did, and I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the UK culture. You said you're excited to see the culture there. So upon arrival, is there anything you're excited to do in the UK and England?
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure what to expect. I haven't done too much research. I know that the accents are a little bit different. I know the money's different. They go by pounds, not dollars, and stuff like that. But I know I've seen the cars and everything, and they drive on the opposite side of the road. I heard, but I'm not 100% sure what to expect. So I'm excited to get there on Saturday.
Yeah, and you said you want to travel some more. So is there any other countries, any other places you want to fight at?
I would like to fight. Um, Honestly, anywhere. I will say I do enjoy fighting in Vegas now since it's kind of become like a second home. I'm pretty comfortable at the PI, and I like fighting at the Apex, but um, I'd like to fight anywhere. This is fighting has opened up a lot of opportunities for me, and it's for me and my family both. My family's never really been out of the country, and now I get to fly them out to Manchester, England, to watch me fight. So it's something I'm proud of.
Yeah, that's the fighting spirit right there. And when you think of England, you think of their crowds, as they're known for having one of the most electric crowds out there. So how excited are you to put on performance in front of that rowdy crowd?
Super excited. And with that being said, I've heard that I'm not going to fight till like 3, 4 in the morning. Those guys, they're going to be there they're going to be there at the event till 6 in the morning probably. So they're definitely diehard fans.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of times when they go to the other countries, you're fighting a different time zone, and that might be a kind of a disadvantage for those guys that live in England. But do you think because you're from the United States, you're from America, so you're used to the time zones in a way, you think that'll give you an advantage?
I think so. And again, I have good coaching. My head coach, Professor Roberto Quintero, he wrote out a schedule for me, and he wants me to black out the curtains and to make sure my sleeping schedule's on track, and that my body's used to and it's primed to fight the time that I'm going to fight, which will be again it'll be late night over there, but it'll be kind of an early night over here.
Yeah, I love that. And you're kind of heading into enemy's territory for this fight. So does that give you a little extra motivation?
It does. It gives me a lot of motivation. I'm pretty sure I've been the underdog in all of my fights for the UFC so far, and in most of my fights in general, I've been the underdog. I've never said no to a fight, but uh, that definitely motivates me. Hearing the boos, I haven't really heard too many boos in the past, but it definitely, again, I like being the underdog. I like being the one that people are rooting against and that people don't believe in, and then proving them wrong.
Yeah, definitely will be the underdog in the crowd, but I think you are the betting favorite for this fight. So do you like
Really?
hearing
Yeah, I like hearing that's a first.
that? Of course. And how's your training camp been for this fight?
It's been good. It's been tough. It's been exhausting, and it's been every single day, 3 days. I'm a big runner. I run every morning, but on top of that, it's been at least 2 training sessions every single day. So it's been a little exhausting, but I gave myself a day break, I think 2 weeks ago, and then went back into training, and the difference it made was huge. Like I'm going to be in the best shape of my life, best condition of my life for this fight.
I love that, really do. And I know one of your main training partners is Corey Taylor. So what's your relationship like with him inside of training and outside of training?
He's a great friend of mine, a friend that I can go to for any problem. He'd come help me out at the drop of a dime. He would drop anything he's doing to come help me. He's a great guy to have in my corner. He's very selfless, especially on fight night. He's there for me. He's not really there for himself. He's there strictly for me and to help me prepare for the fight.
For sure. That's amazing. And training camp can be a very stressful time. So when you have that free time, what are some of your go-to things to do?
Um, Honestly, I don't like spending too much time alone. So just spending time with family, friends, being around people. I enjoy fishing. I enjoy skateboarding. I enjoy pretty much every sport you could name: football, basketball, all of it. But as far as watching sports, it's hard to keep me entertained with anything other than MMA now. It just almost feels like a waste of time for me. And I don't really have too much free time, especially with this training camp. It's been pretty strict. So lately, it's just been waking up, training, and I've found comfort and happiness in doing that. And that's honestly kind of like what I like to do is wake up and train, wake up and do my daily thing.
That's awesome. And do you think since you have this new comfort of just training, 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 do you think that'll propel you into new proportions that are kind of, I wouldn't say like out of the realm, but stuff like you think that'll elevate you in a different way now?
Oh yeah, I was previously an owner at an MMA gym as well. I was owner at Elevate MMA. I gave up my ownership for this fight, and I've been solely focusing on training. I'm not really coaching as much as I was. I'm not managing or playing manager for 10 different amateurs or anything like that. I'm just focusing on fighting. So I think that after this fight, I'm definitely going to fight again this year and try to keep the momentum going and not take as long as time in between fights as I have in the past.
Yeah. And when I watch your fights and I watch all of the clips of you, I feel like you're kind of underrated. I feel like your skill set is not enough people talk about you as they should. So do you also feel that in a way?
Uh, I really appreciate you saying that, but I'm still just I'm in the UFC. It's still kind of sinking in. I know it's been almost 3 years now, but it's the top level of the sport, and I feel like I've yet to put on my best performance. I know I did pretty well in my last fight against Semelsberger, but again, I need to be finishing guys. I need to be going out there and putting them away. So I again, yeah, I appreciate that. I do think that I'm a little bit underrated, but I want to earn my ranking, I guess.
Yeah. Of course, and on earning something, you just earned yourself a new contract with the UFC. So it's not a guarantee to get that extra contract, to get that extension. So how special does it feel that the UFC wanted to keep you on the roster?
It means a lot, and the fact that Sean reached out directly to my manager asking for me to for this fight and for a number card, it shows that I did something right my last fight. That they want me to be on a big card, not just a fight night. And I know the fight nights are big too, but it just shows me that they like the way I perform. So I need to go out and do something similar.
Yeah, that's great, man. It really is. And for
But
this
that being
fight,
said, too, I know they don't keep guys around that lose. So I know I re-signed the contract for 4 fights, but I need to go out there and treat it like it's a one fight contract. I need to get another contract.
yeah, of course. And for this fight, it will also be the first time with the new gloves for you. So have you tried them on? Do you have any thoughts or opinions on them?
I have. I've trained. I actually trained with them tonight. The UFC is real great about that. They sent out a pair of the gloves to all the fighters for us to try them and see how we like them and everything, and kind of gave us a rundown of what the differences were. Um, they're small. They're just like the other ones though. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference in the fight. I've trained in them multiple times now, and then as the fight gets closer, I'm going to train in them more and more and more. But um, I like the new gloves. I don't see. why people were complaining about them in the first place.
Yeah, I agree. And I know one of the complaints is they said they'll prevent eye pokes, and we still see eye pokes. So, do you still have any thoughts on that, or do you think just the nature of the sport?
So after wearing the gloves, they don't do anything at all about eye pokes, and that's just my opinion, I guess. But they're the exact same. Like it doesn't hinder your. It doesn't make it to where my fingers are curled in like you have seen before, I guess, with the Bellator gloves. Um, so no, I don't think they're going to help at all with the eye pokes. But the material may help with the scratches on the eyes. Like even when I fought Daniel Rodriguez, when he punched me, it was kind of the corner of the glove that went directly into my eye socket.
Yeah.
So maybe with them being more rounded and less square, there'll be less of that. But other than that, they're very similar.
Hopefully, we see no eye pokes in this fight. And my final question for you is: do you have any predictions for the main event or the co-main event?
Um, a decision for the main event, and I'm sorry to ask this, but who's the co-main event?
Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blades.
I'm going with Tom Aspinall.
Yeah, for sure, man. Is there anything you want to plug? Anything you want to shout out before you head out of here?
Shout out all my training partners. Corey Taylor, he's got some big news coming up for his fighting career. My head coach, Professor Roberto Cortero, my training partner, Kuba Kashuba, my training partners, Trey Waters in the UFC, Stephen Kozlow, Seth Dupuis, all my family members, and everybody who supports me.
Preston, it was more than a pleasure having you on. I wish you the best of luck at UFC 304. Folks, that'll be all for today. Until next time, peace.